What if one honest choice on New Year's Eve could pull you into the most dangerous love of your life? Asterisk asterisk. Sit back, relax. This New Year's story will set your heart racing in ways you never expected. Fireworks were exploding over the city that night. The streets glittered with snow and champagne bottles, and the air smelled like street food and celebration. Nia pulled her white winter coat tighter as she carried the insulated delivery bag through the crowded sidewalks. Her sneakers were worn thin and her fingers felt frozen, but she kept moving anyway. It was New Year's Eve, and she still had one more delivery to make before midnight. She worked for an upscale restaurant called Lotus and Pine, the kind of place where single orders cost more than her weekly rent. Nia didn't have much, but she was proud of her hustle. She liked knowing she earned every dollar honestly, so she worked double shifts, waitressing during the day and delivering at night. Her last order was going to the glass penthouse tower in the elite district. She had never been inside a building like that before. Just looking up at the sleek structure, glowing against the fireworks, made her stomach flip. When she reached the lobby entrance, a man in a dark suit stopped her. He looked intimidating, tall, stone-faced, and scanning her like a threat. She noticed the telltale bulge under his jacket. Nia swallowed hard. "Delivery for the penthouse," she said, keeping her voice steady. He looked her up and down, then pressed his earpiece. After a tense pause, he stepped aside. "Top floor. Don't wander." The elevator doors slid shut, and soft instrumental music played. She caught her reflection in the mirrored walls, her brown skin glowing under the golden light, her breath still shaky from the cold. She didn't know that on the other side of a hidden camera, someone was already watching her. Someone who had been waiting for her. Someone who was about to change everything. When Nia reached the top floor, she stepped out onto polished marble floors that reflected the fireworks bursting outside floor-to-ceiling windows. The penthouse hallway smelled like expensive cologne and leather. She found the door and pressed the bell, clutching the warm delivery bag like a shield. The door opened. A man stood there, dressed in a tailored brown wool coat left casually open over a black shirt. Tattoos crept up the side of his neck, dark ink against golden skin. His eyes were sharp and unreadable, the kind of eyes that didn't just look at you, they measured you. He held a phone to his ear but said nothing into it. Just watched her. "Delivery," Nia said, holding out the bag with both hands. He didn't take it right away. Just studied her face for a moment that stretched too long. Then slowly, he lowered the phone. "Set it inside," he said, his voice low and controlled, like someone used to being obeyed. She hesitated. Customers never asked her to come in. But something about the way he stepped aside, the way the fireworks lit up the room behind him, made her feel like she'd already crossed a line just by ringing the bell. Nia stepped inside carefully, her wet sneakers silent on the heated floor, and placed the bag on the glass table near the entrance. She didn't see him slip the brown leather wallet into her delivery bag. She didn't know this wasn't just a delivery. It was a test. Nia set the delivery bag on the glass table and stepped back, her hands already reaching for the door. The penthouse was too quiet, too luxurious, too much like a place she didn't belong. Kenji stood a few feet away, phone still pressed to his ear, but he wasn't speaking. His eyes followed her in the reflection of the massive windows behind him, watching her every move as fireworks painted the glass in bursts of blue and gold. She gave a small, nervous nod and turned to leave. "Wait," he said. Her heart jumped, but when she looked back, he was already turning away, murmuring something low into the phone in a language she didn't recognize. He waved her off without looking at her, dismissive. Nia didn't wait for him to change his mind. She slipped out the door, her pulse still racing as the elevator descended. The mirrored walls felt like they were closing in. She exhaled slowly, watching the numbers drop, 40, 35, 30. Almost out. Almost safe. The lobby was chaotic. Crowds of people in glittering dresses and tailored suits poured in from the street, laughing and shouting countdowns to midnight. Nia pushed through them, clutching her empty delivery bag to her chest. The cold air hit her face like a slap when she stepped outside, but she welcomed it. It cleared her head. She was halfway down the block, weaving through the celebrating crowd, when she felt it. A weight in her bag that shouldn't be there. Nia stopped beneath a street lamp and unzipped the insulated pouch. Nestled inside, heavy and out of place, was a brown leather wallet. Expensive. The kind of leather that smelled rich even from a distance. Her stomach dropped. She opened it with shaking fingers. Inside were crisp bills, more cash than she made in 2 months, along with sleek black cards and an ID she barely glanced at. No name she recognized. Just a face. His face. Her first instinct was panic. He would think she stole it. Men like that, men with armed guards and penthouse views, didn't forgive mistakes. She looked back at the tower, its glass sides glowing against the sky, and felt her throat tighten. She could keep it. Walk away. Disappear into the crowd and the snow and the fireworks, and he'd never find her. The money alone could cover her rent for months. But even as the thought crossed her mind, Nia was already turning around. She pushed back through the crowd, past couples kissing and strangers spraying champagne, her sneakers slipping on the icy pavement. The doorman recognized her and waved her through without a word. The elevator felt faster this time, or maybe it was just her heartbeat drowning out the music. When the doors opened on the top floor, she ran. She reached his door and pressed the bell 3 times, breathless. Her reflection in the polished surface looked wild, snow in her hair, chest heaving, eyes too wide. She clutched the wallet in both hands like an offering. The door opened. Kenji stood there, no phone this time. He looked at her, then at the wallet, then back at her face. Something flickered in his expression, surprise, maybe, or something darker. "You came back," he said quietly. Nia held out the wallet. "You left this. In my bag. I didn't take it. I swear I didn't." "I know," he said. The fireworks outside hit their crescendo. The countdown had begun somewhere far below. 10, 9, 8. Kenji stepped aside. "Come in." This time, Nia didn't hesitate. She stepped inside, the door closing behind her with a soft, final click. The penthouse was dim now, lit only by the glow of the city and the relentless explosions of color outside the windows. The countdown echoed from a dozen parties on the floors below. 5, 4, 3. Kenji took the wallet from her hands, his fingers brushing hers. He didn't look at it. He was looking at her. "You didn't have to come back," he said. "Yes, I did." Her voice was steadier than she felt. 2, 1. The city erupted. Fireworks screamed into the sky, shaking the glass. Cheers rose from every direction. The new year had arrived. Kenji set the wallet on the table beside the cold food she delivered an hour ago. "Do you know what I do?" Nia swallowed. "No. But you can guess." She could. The guards. The gun. The way he moved like someone who didn't fear consequences, because he was the consequence. "I don't care," she said. "It's your wallet. It's not mine." He laughed, a short, sharp sound without much humor. "Everyone in this city would have kept it. Everyone. I've watched people steal, lie, cheat for less than what's in that wallet." He stepped closer. "So I wanted to see. I planted it in your bag while you were looking at the windows. I thought you'd be like the rest of them." Nia's breath caught. "You tested me?" "Yes." No shame. No apology. Just fact. Anger flared in her chest, hot and sudden. "You made me think I'd lose my job. You made me run back here in the snow. And you did." His voice was soft now, almost reverent. "You ran back. You proved me wrong." He reached into his coat and pulled out a slim envelope. "This is for you. For your honesty." Nia stared at the envelope but didn't take it. I don't want your money. It's not a bribe. It's a thank you. For what? Passing your twisted little test. Kenji tilted his head, studying her like she was something rare. For showing me I was wrong about people. About this city. He paused. About everything. The fireworks continued outside, but the room felt impossibly still. What's your name? He asked. Nia. He repeated it slowly, like he was memorizing it. Nia. Then he set the envelope on the table beside the wallet. Take it or don't. But you should know something. What? I don't let go of things that matter. His eyes locked on hers, dark and unreadable. And you, Nia, just became very important to me. She should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to grab the wallet, leave the money, and never come back to this glittering, dangerous place. But she didn't move. Kenji smiled, slow and certain. Happy New Year. Nia told herself she'd never see him again. She went back to her doubles at Lotus and Pine, back to her tiny apartment with a radiator that barely worked, back to her normal life. But normal didn't last. 3 days after New Year's, her landlord called. Your rent, he said, confused. It's paid. For the whole year. That's impossible. Cash delivery. This morning. She knew. Somehow she knew. A week later, the manager at Lotus and Pine pulled her aside. Someone requested you. Personal delivery. Generous tip already included. The address was the Royal Seoul Tower Hotel. Top floor. Nia's hands shook as she carried the bag through the lobby. The same guard nodded at her like she was expected. Like she belonged. Kenji opened the door before she could ring the bell. You need to stop, she said. Stop what? This. The rent. The requests. Whatever you're doing. He leaned against the doorframe, casual, like they were old friends. I'm making sure you're taken care of. I don't need taking care of. Everyone does. His voice dropped. Especially people who are too good for the world they live in. You don't even know me. I know enough. He stepped aside. Come in. Let's talk. Against her better judgment, she did. The penthouse looked different in daylight, less intimidating, more lived in. There was a book on the couch, a cold cup of coffee on the table. Human things. Why me? Nia asked, setting the food down. You meet 100 people. Why do I matter? Kenji poured 2 glasses of water and handed her one. Because 100 people would have kept the wallet. 100 people would have justified it, spent it, and forgotten me. He paused. But you ran through the snow to return it. You didn't want my money. You just wanted to do the right thing. His jaw tightened. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Your world isn't mine. Not yet. The weight of those words settled between them. I scare you, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Good. You should be scared. I'm not a good man, Nia. He set his glass down, and for the first time, she saw something crack in his expression. Something almost vulnerable. But when I'm near you, I want to be. Her breath hitched. Outside, a black car pulled up to the curb, one of many she'd started noticing. Always nearby. Always watching. You've been following me, she whispered. Protecting you. From what? His eyes met hers, and the softness vanished. From everyone who would hurt you to hurt me. The threat came on a Tuesday. Nia was 2 blocks from Lotus and Pine, her delivery bag slung over her shoulder, when a black sedan rolled up beside her. Not Kenji's. She'd learned to recognize his cars by now. 2 men stepped out. One of them smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're Nia, right? He said in accented English. Kenji's new friend? She didn't answer. Just kept walking. They followed. He's getting soft, the man continued, matching her pace. Spending time with delivery girls. Paying their rent. Very sweet. Very stupid. I don't know what you're talking about. The second man stepped in front of her, blocking the sidewalk. Tell him we send our regards. Nia's heart slammed against her ribs. She looked around. The street was empty, too early for the dinner crowd, too cold for tourists. The first man reached for her arm. A car door slammed. Kenji appeared like a shadow made solid, his hand locking around the man's wrist before he could touch her. The movement was effortless, brutal. The man gasped, dropped to his knees. Walk away, Kenji said, his voice dead calm. The second man pulled a knife. Kenji moved faster. A crack. A grunt. The knife clattered to the pavement, and the man stumbled backward, clutching his arm. Next time I won't be gentle, Kenji said. They ran. Nia stood frozen, her bag still clutched to her chest. Kenji turned to her, his expression softening instantly, like a switch had flipped. Are you hurt? She shook her head, unable to speak. He stepped closer, his hands hovering near her shoulders but not quite touching, like he was afraid she'd break. I'm sorry. This is my fault. They know about you now. Who are they? People I've done business with. People who think you're a weakness they can exploit. His jaw tightened. They're wrong. Kenji. You're not safe out here anymore, Nia. His eyes locked on hers, desperate and certain. You're not safe unless you're with me. The words hung in the frozen air between them. What are you asking me? I'm not asking. He exhaled slowly, something breaking in his voice. I'm begging. Let me protect you. Stay with me. Let me keep you safe. Nia looked at the man who just destroyed 2 attackers without breaking a sweat, the man who watched her like she was the only light in his dark world, and realized she'd already made her choice. She'd made it the moment she ran back through the snow to return his wallet. Okay, she whispered. Kenji's expression cracked with relief. He pulled her close, and for the first time, she let him. The safe house was 3 hours north of the city, buried in snow-covered mountains where the only lights came from stars and the occasional passing car on the distant highway. Kenji's driver left them at the gate without a word, and the silence that followed was so complete it made Nia's ears ring. The house itself was modest compared to the penthouse, wood and stone, built low against the wind, with smoke already curling from the chimney. Someone had prepared it for their arrival. Kenji carried both their bags, his brown wool coat dusted with fresh snow, and held the door open for her. Inside, it was warm. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace, casting amber light across simple furniture and woolen blankets. There were no glass walls here, no city views, no armed guards. Just 4 walls and the sound of wind against the windows. How long do we stay? Nia asked, setting her white coat on the back of a chair. As long as it takes. Kenji locked the door and set down the bags. His shoulders relaxed slightly, like he'd been holding tension for days. For things to calm down. For me to make sure you're protected. And then what? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he moved to the fire, adding another log, watching the flames catch and spread. The firelight made his tattoos look alive, the ink shifting with each movement of muscle beneath his shirt. Then we figure out what comes next, he said finally. Nia sat on the edge of the couch, still wearing her worn sneakers and faded jeans, feeling impossibly out of place even here. You didn't have to do this. Any of this. Yes, I did. He turned to face her, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it. You returned my wallet, Nia. You could have walked away rich. You could have disappeared. But you came back. He crossed the room and knelt in front of her, eye level now, his hands resting on his knees. Do you know what that did to me? Watching you run back through the snow, terrified I'd blame you, Just to do the right thing. Her throat tightened. It was just a wallet. It was everything. His voice cracked slightly. I've spent 10 years in a world where loyalty is bought, where trust is a weapon, where everyone has a price. And then you, he stopped, shaking his head. You proved me wrong. You proved that there are still people who can't be corrupted. People worth protecting. I'm not special, Kenji. You are to me. The fire popped, sending sparks up the chimney. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and endless. Nia reached out slowly and touched his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw, rough with stubble, warm from the fire. He closed his eyes at the contact, like it was something he'd been starving for. I'm scared, she whispered. Of me. Of what happens when this ends. When we have to go back. Kenji opened his eyes, and in the firelight they looked almost vulnerable. He took her hand from his face and pressed it against his chest, right over his heart. She could feel it beating, fast and strong. I don't want to go back, he said quietly. What do you mean? I've been thinking about it since the night you came back. Since I watched you stand in my penthouse, shaking and honest and so damn brave. He exhaled slowly. I want out, Nia. I want to leave the business, the empire, all of it. I want to disappear somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere I don't have to be that man anymore. Her heart stuttered. You can't just leave. People like you don't just walk away. I know. His grip on her hand tightened. That's why it's going to be dangerous. That's why I need time to do it right. But I swear to you, his voice dropped to something fierce and raw. I swear I will burn everything I built to the ground if it means keeping you safe. If it means having a life where you don't have to be afraid. Nia felt tears prick her eyes. Why? Why would you give up everything for someone you barely know? Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human. He stood, pulling her up with him, and wrapped his arms around her. The contrast was stark, his expensive coat still smelling of leather and cologne, her simple sweater carrying the scent of snow and the city. But somehow they fit. Because you looked at me like I could be more than what I am. And I want to be that man. The one you see when you look at me. She buried her face against his chest and let herself cry. Not from fear this time, but from the weight of everything shifting, everything changing, the terrifying hope that maybe somehow they could have this. Kenji held her as the fire burned low and the snow piled high outside, and for the first time in years, he let himself imagine a future that wasn't built on blood and power. He imagined mornings like this. Quiet. Safe. Warm. He imagined her. That night, they stayed by the fire until dawn, wrapped in blankets in each other, speaking in whispers about the lives they wanted to build. And when Nia finally fell asleep against his shoulder, Kenji made himself a promise. He would get them out. Whatever it cost. They had 5 days of peace. 5 days of snow and firelight and learning each other in the ways that mattered. Nia discovered that Kenji took his coffee black and bitter, that he had a scar on his ribs from a knife fight he refused to talk about, that he smiled more easily when no one else was watching. Kenji learned that Nia sang quietly when she cooked, that she was afraid of the dark but never admitted it, that she saw good in him even when he couldn't see it himself. On the 6th day, his phone rang. Kenji stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. Nia watched from the kitchen, her hands frozen in the middle of chopping vegetables, as his expression went cold and hard, the face he wore in the city, the one she'd almost forgotten existed. He spoke in that language she didn't understand, his voice clipped and controlled. The conversation lasted less than a minute. When he hung up, he didn't move. What is it? Nia asked, though she already knew the answer would shatter their fragile sanctuary. A meeting. Tomorrow night. The heads of the 4 families. He set the phone down carefully, like it might explode. They're calling it a peace summit. A chance to negotiate my exit cleanly. That's good, isn't it? That's what you wanted. It's a trap. He said it with absolute certainty. They don't want me out. They want me compliant or dead. Probably dead. Nia's blood went cold. Then don't go. We'll leave. Right now. We'll disappear. They'll find us. Kenji turned to face her, and his eyes were full of something that looked like grief. I've spent 10 years building networks, making enemies, burying bodies. I know how this works. If I run, they'll hunt us forever. Every city, every country, every safe house, they'll find us. And they'll use you to make me pay. So what are you saying? I'm saying I have to go. He crossed the room and took her hands, gripping them tight. I have to finish this. I have to face them and make it clear that I'm out, that touching you means war they can't afford. I have to end it. They'll kill you. Her voice broke. Maybe. He pulled her close, pressing his forehead against hers. But if I don't go, they'll kill you. And I won't let that happen. I can't. Nia grabbed his shirt, twisting the fabric in her fists. Don't do this. Please. We'll find another way. There is no other way. His voice was gentle but absolute. This is the price, Nia. This is what it costs to be free. She wanted to scream, to beg, to lock the doors and refuse to let him leave. But she saw it in his eyes. The decision was already made. He was going to walk into that trap because he believed it was the only way to save her. When? She whispered. I leave in an hour. The meeting is at midnight. That's not enough time. It never would be. He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away tears she didn't realize she was crying. Listen to me. There's a man, someone I trust. He'll be here in the morning. If I'm not back by dawn, he'll take you somewhere safe. New name, new life, everything you need. I don't want a new life without you. And I don't want you dead because of me. He kissed her then, desperate and tender, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth, the taste of her tears, the way she held on to him like he was the only solid thing in a collapsing world. When he pulled away, his eyes were bright with something that might have been tears. I love you, he said. I need you to know that. I've never said it to anyone, but I love you, Nia. You made me believe I could be more than what I was. You made me want to live instead of just surviving. Kenji. Wait for me. He pressed one last kiss to her forehead and stepped back, reaching for his coat, the brown wool one he'd worn the night they met. I'll come back. I promise. And then he was gone. Nia stood in the middle of the safe house, listening to the sound of the car driving away, watching through the window as the taillights disappeared into the snow. The fire still crackled. The half-chopped vegetables sat forgotten on the counter. Everything looked the same. But the world had tilted on its axis. She sank to the floor and waited for dawn. The sun rose at 6:47 a.m., painting the snow pink and gold. Kenji wasn't back. Nia sat by the window, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled like him, watching the empty road. Her eyes burned from crying, from not sleeping, from staring too long at nothing. A black car had arrived an hour ago, the man Kenji mentioned, waiting silently by the gate, ready to take her away to whatever new life had been prepared. She didn't move. At 7:15, she heard an engine. Her heart stopped. Started again, too fast. A car came into view, moving slowly up the snowy drive. Not the sleek black sedans Kenji usually traveled in. This one was beaten up, scratched, one headlight shattered. It rolled to a stop near the house, the engine ticking in the cold silence. The door opened. Kenji stepped out. Nia was on her feet and running before she could think, throwing the door open, her bare feet hitting the snow. She didn't care about the cold, didn't care about anything except the fact that he was there, he was alive, he was covered in blood. His coat was torn, his face bruised and swollen on one side, his knuckles split and raw. He moved like everything hurt, but he was standing. He was breathing. He was looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him upright. Kenji, her voice broke on his name. "It's over," he said roughly. His voice was hoarse, like he'd been screaming. "I'm out. We're out." They agreed. "It's done." She crashed into him, and he grunted in pain but caught her anyway, holding her tight despite the way his hands shook. He smelled like smoke and copper in winter, and she didn't care. She just held on, sobbing against his ruined coat. "I thought you were dead," she choked out. "I thought." "I know. I'm sorry. It took longer than I thought." He pulled back just enough to look at her, his thumbs wiping at her tears even though his hands were bloody. "I had to make them understand. I had to make sure they knew that coming after you, after us, would cost them everything. So I burned bridges. Called in debts. Made threats I'll probably regret." He laughed, a broken sound. "I dismantled 10 years of work in one night, Nia. And I'd do it again. I'd do it 1,000 times. Are you hurt? Do you need a hospital? I need you." He leaned his forehead against hers, his breath coming hard. "I just need you." The man by the gate got back in his car and drove away. His services were no longer needed. Nia helped Kenji inside, peeled off the ruined coat, cleaned the blood from his hands and face with shaking fingers. Some of it was his. Most of it wasn't. She didn't ask. She just wrapped him in blankets, sat beside him by the fire, and held his hand while he slept for 16 hours straight. When he woke, the worst of the bruises had darkened, but his eyes were clearer. "What do we do now?" Nia asked softly. Kenji laced his fingers through hers. "We disappear. We find a place where no one knows my name. We build something quiet, normal and safe." He looked at her, and despite the injuries, despite everything, he smiled. "We live, Nia. We finally get to just live." And slowly, carefully, they did. They left the safe house a week later and drove west, away from the city, away from the empire Kenji had burned to ash. They found a small town where it snowed in winter and bloomed in spring, where no one asked questions and neighbors left you alone. Kenji grew his hair longer, let the tattoos fade under long sleeves and lived quietly. Nia opened a small cafe that served coffee and homemade pastries. They rented a house with a fireplace and a porch that overlooked the mountains. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't powerful. But it was theirs. 1 year later, on New Year's Eve, they stood on that porch wrapped in blankets, watching fireworks from the distant town square paint the sky in blues and golds. The same colors as that first night. But everything was different now. "Do you miss it?" Nia asked quietly. "The penthouse. The power. All of it." Kenji pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Not even for a second." "What do you miss?" He thought about it. "Nothing. I have everything I need right here." The countdown began somewhere in the distance. 10, 9, 8. "You saved me," Nia whispered. "That night. Every night since." "No." Kenji turned her to face him, his hands cupping her face the way he had 100 times before. "You saved me. You came back through the snow with my wallet, and you saved my life without even knowing it." 3, 2, 1. The fireworks exploded overhead, and Kenji kissed her as the new year arrived, not in a cold glass penthouse surrounded by wealth and danger, but in a home they'd built together, surrounded by peace and possibility. Somewhere far away, in a city of shadows and steel, a brown leather wallet sat in an evidence box, tagged and forgotten. The test that had changed everything. But here, in the quiet and the snow and the warmth of each other, Kenji and Nia had found something more valuable than any empire. They'd found their way home. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for more amazing tales.